Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to our presentation. We are going to present about ASEAN financial crisis.
Introduction of issue in ASEAN financial crisis. The ASEAN financial crisis was a sequence of currency reduction and other activity that started in 1997 and spread through several ASEAN countries include Indonesia, Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Philippines, and South Korea. The ASEAN financial crisis first failed in Thailand and then spread rapidly to regional economy. Thailand government decided to not peg the Thai baht currency to US dollar. Thus, it led to a series of currency devaluation and huge capital flight. Currency deficit rapidly spread through East Asia, sparkling financial failure, decreased trade and revenue, and government upheaval. The first issue arise in ASEAN financial crisis is the collapse of the currency exchange rate. Currency exchange rate is the value of the currency in one country versus other country. Most of exchange rate is the free floating and will rise or fall based on supply and demand market. The collapse of the currency exchange rate start because of the reduction in the official value of the Thailand baht currency. Thailand baht currency ran out of the foreign currency and no longer able to support its exchange rate, and the government was to float the Thai baht, which had previously had to peg in USD dollar. The sequence of currency devaluation that has started in Thailand spread and swept over East and Southeast Asia. Philippine peso and Indonesia rupiah also underwent major devaluation that has led to the high deflation.
In the first 6 months, the value of currency in Indonesia rupiah dropped by 80%, while in Thailand baht dropped more than 50%. South Korea won dropped by 50%, and lastly, Malaysia ringgit dropped by 45%.
The next issue arising in Asian financial crisis is the asset bubble. The bubble is an economic cycle characterized by a rapid increase in market value, especially in the price of an asset. An asset bubble is arising when assets such as housing, stock, or gold dramatically rise in price over a short period that is not supported by the value of the product. Bubble in equity market and currency cause the transition of capital to region of fast development. During a bubble, the investor will continue to bid up the price of an asset beyond any real sustainable value. At the end of the bubble or burst of the bubble, resources are diverting again, triggering the market to be deflate.
Now, I would like to talk about the challenge of Asian financial crisis. The Asian financial crisis is the series of currency reduction and any other activities in 1997. Besides, it has spread into several countries, which is South Korea, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, and Philippines. They have the several challenges that have been passing during the Asian financial crisis, which is the declining of economic of countries, the political repercussion, and the loss of international investors. One of the main challenge in Asian financial crisis is the declining of country economy. By declining in the exchange rate, it will affect the price of stock and in decreasing of an asset. Besides, it will also have a negative impact in our country's GDPs. For example, in 1996 to 1997, the nominal GDP per capita in Indonesia have fell to 43.2%, while in Thailand is about 21.2%, in Malaysia is 19%, in the South Korea is about 18.5%, while in the Philippines is 12.5%. While in the Hong Kong, Singapore, mainland of China and Japan are also affected, but they got no seriously affected like other Asian countries. Another challenge that need to face in Asian financial crisis is the political repercussion. They have many political impact that occurred after the Asian financial crisis. Besides, this Asian financial crisis is not only impact the one of the countries, but it also impact all those countries in the Asia. For example, the resignation of Prime Minister by Yong Chai-yut, which is the Prime Minister of Thailand, and Suharto is the President of the Indonesia. Besides, when this Asian financial crisis occurs, it will causes the anti-Western sentiment, especially against George Soros. In this case, he was blamed for triggering a crisis with a large amount of currency speculation by some individuals. For the last one is the loss of international investors. In this financial crisis, it's not only impact to the Asian countries, but it also impact to the foreign investors. The foreign investor will be less prepared and less interest to investing or lending into the developing countries. It's not only in the Asian, but to the other parts of the world. In fact, the oil price is dropped during this crisis. However, it will cause some major merge and acquisition in the oil industries to take a place on the economic scales.
Now, I will talk about conclusion that I made from this report. The Asian financial crisis of 1997, also referred as Asian contagion, was a series of de-evolution of currency and other occurrences that occurred in the summer of 1997. The crisis also expanded over many Asian countries such as Thailand, Singapore, Indonesia, Malaysia, South Korea, and Philippines. The crisis caused by the result from the breakdown of currency exchange rate and the series of asset bubbles. A lot of lessons learned from the Asian financial crisis can be implemented in the current situation and also can be used in the future to help solve the difficulties. First, the need for country financial system to be enhanced. Lastly, macroeconomic policy requirement, including reserve management policies and exchange rate.
Next is my turn to explain about the recommendation of ASEAN financial crisis. For your information, Indonesia, Thailand, Malaysia, South Korea, and Philippines were the nations are mostly impacted by the ASEAN financial crisis. We can see that their currency exchange rates, stock markets, and other asset values have been crashed, even though the gross domestic product of the countries also dropped by double digits. The first recommendation is plan the market properly. Each company needs to create knowledge goes beyond advertisement, and it is teaching the way to solve the decline in economics. This allows you to tap into a new market and inform customers about the importance of your goods and services. This is also can produce the ability to build the visibility and give your company a chance to thrive in declining economic. Second is managing political risk in order to preserve a diversified portfolio. These risks are always worth taking. Investors should maintain a diversified portfolio to mitigate any particular political risk that greatly affect the overall portfolio. And last but not least, government must avoid the failure of foreign investment. A country must sustain in economy to attract foreign investors, while in a company, the company needs to demonstrate that your company can be profitable in the foreign market by demonstrating how popular it has been in your country. Thus, when taking on new investments, foreign investors appear to be more cautious and you have to work harder to persuade them that your company is worth the risk.
Thank you for watching.